No journey in life is without a purpose. Sometimes it will take you out of your comfort zone. Sometimes it will show you important messages for your unanswered questions. Or sometimes, both. Our two protagonists will realize this as they take this once-in-a-lifetime wedding trip. Jack is about to start his journey to North Carolina to attend his friend's wedding. The friend's name is Murray, and he calls Jack to ask a favor. Lisa, his bride-to-be, is asking him if he can pick up her best friend in Jersey, who is supposed to be the bridesmaid. Lisa doesn't drive and is afraid to fly. Jack agrees. When he arrives at the given address, he sees that multiple pink suitcases are already by the front door, ready to be picked up. He calls out into the open door to let the woman know that he's there to pick her up. He hears her answer back, requesting him to put the suitcases in the car. When the woman comes out of the house, Jack sees that she's very attractive. Also, painfully familiar. He asks her to remove her glasses. Even though she's confused, she does. Jack recognizes her and realizes that he doesn't want to spend a day's journey with this unpleasant woman. He says nope and simply drives away. It turns out the woman, whose name was Samantha, is the same one who stood him up on a blind date back in college. It gave him some kind of PTSD. Murray and Lisa call him, fuming that he left their friend stranded. Murray pleads with him, he's already stressed out, with Lisa throwing tantrums about her friend. Jack insists on not doing it, and yet, he does it. He goes back to fetch Samantha. Now, the two of them are reluctantly stuck with each other for this whole trip. Samantha can't figure out why Jack is treating her like this. She doesn't know the guy, and she doesn't remember being horrible to anyone, at least recently. On the other hand, Jack just wants to get this done and over with, so he won't spend any more time with this woman who stood him up. Samantha tries to make small talk by asking about the buttons in his car. Jack corrects her that this is a truck, and tells her the functions. Then she asks to turn on the radio, which immediately plays a rap song. She sings the lyrics, enjoying herself, but the driver doesn't like it and pulls the plug. At one of the stops, Jack asks her if she needs to use the bathroom, but she insists she doesn't. Then she asks him about the photo of a man with an elephant at the back, hanging by the front mirror. It was Jack's friend, who was trying to save the elephant from the poachers. Samantha learns that Jack is a wildlife photographer and used to work for the BBC. That explains the truck and its structure, but she stubbornly calls it a car. He chides her for judging his vehicle when she herself doesn't even drive, causing her to sulk. Looking at them, one can only wonder how they can both survive this one-day trip. On the way, Jack turns to a reservoir. He has received information that an extinct species of bird can be found there. He thinks it'll be fine to make a detour and take a photo of the said bird. Samantha cannot argue, even if she wants to, since Jack is the driver. Instead of seeing what he does as a wildlife photographer, she stays in the car. While waiting for him, Samantha sees that someone named Jesse is calling. She doesn't answer it, but when it rings the second time, she answers the call. From the woman's tone of voice, Samantha concludes that this is Jack's girlfriend, and that she might have just destroyed a relationship unintentionally. Impatient for his return, and wanting to answer the call of nature, she gets out of the car to relieve herself in a nearby bush. However, she gets attacked by ants. At that same moment, Jack returns and sees Samantha running awkwardly away and screeching, with her pants halfway down. He can't help but make fun of her, taking photos. But he's not a total jerk. He lets her scan through the funny photos and delete them. But he also asks her to leave one, so he can make some memes. Samantha tells him that someone named Jesse called while he was gone. Jack laughs sardonically. It turns out Jesse was his girlfriend, who just became his ex that morning. She was supposed to go to the wedding with him, but he caught her cheating with another man, so he broke it off with her. For a brief moment, Samantha shows a little bit of compassion towards him. Then she asks if they can get some food. Not the oatmeal bars in the cooler, but some real food. They decide to take a break at a park in a small town. While eating, they get to know more about each other. Samantha learns that Jack is not only a wildlife photographer, but a full-fledged doctor. He chose to be a photographer because that's what he liked to do. He and Murray were in the same program back in college, and he only met Lisa a handful of times. Meanwhile, Samantha and Lisa have been friends since their freshman year, and they were members of the same sorority. Jack comments that that must explain why Samantha and Lisa have the same vibes. She also confesses that ever since Lisa met Murray, their friendship has never been the same. When they get back on the road, Samantha continues their earlier discussion. What did Jack mean when he said she and Lisa have the same vibes? He answers that they both radiate the same overall look and attitude. She can't accept this answer because she thinks they're different. When she asks him how he would describe Lisa, he refuses to go down that rabbit hole. Instead, Samantha offers to describe Lisa, then Jack can agree or disagree. She describes her friend as a smart and classy woman who can make people turn around. Jack agrees, but she knows he's just avoiding complications. She adds that Lisa can be self-centered. Even Murray thinks Samantha is funnier and more likely to have a good time. Jack says he doesn't know that, and obviously doesn't know her that well. That's when she breaks down. She thinks she's a horrible person for having the same bad traits as her friend. But Jack tries to calm her down and says he just hasn't seen that side of her yet. Samantha calms with those remarks. After a few hours of driving, they stop at a local restaurant for a bathroom break. Jack looks amused at Samantha. He says it's entertaining to observe her bathroom habits. Deviating the discussion from her bathroom visits, she asks what their sleeping arrangement for the night will be. Jack says he's okay with camping, since he's done it a lot. She can sleep in the tent, while he will sleep inside the car. But Samantha is not up for it. She says the place doesn't have to be a 5-star hotel, so long as it has a comfortable bed, a heater and a shower, and cheap coffee from a crappy coffee maker. She needs to always have her morning coffee. Jack is firm that he's not going to pay for a hotel room when he can sleep in a car. And yet, a few minutes later, she ends up looking for available rooms. When she finds one, he feels defeated. He tells her to book it. He'll sleep in the car. Night comes, and they arrive at the inn. Jack brings her multiple pink suitcases inside the room, then comes back out to settle in for the night. However, just as when he gets all cozy in his car, Samantha comes to him and asks him to sleep in the room. She makes up the excuse of being watched by unknown truckers. Jack is sure there's no danger, because he's been keeping watch. She feels a little giddy and appreciative of his gesture, but she insists on him coming along with her. She bats her long lashes at him and makes puppy eyes. Whether it works or not, in the end, Jack makes his makeshift bed on the sofa. As the night wears on, Samantha gets bored and invites him for a drink. She has a travel bag full of mini bottles. At first, Jack refuses, but eventually gives in. They toast to having interesting travel partners. He doesn't plan on getting drunk. But 6 mini bottles later, he feels tipsy and red-faced, while Samantha has neatly piled hers on the bedside table. They both drink their 7th mini bottle when she asks why he never asks anything about her. Doesn't he find her interesting? He says he does, but the way he says it can be construed as either an insult or a compliment. He admits he didn't expect her to be insecure. Then, Samantha asks him to come to bed with her. She feels horny, perhaps the liquors she drank are taking their effect. She tells Jack not to tell anyone what she's about to do. Then she kisses him. She gets out of bed and does a drunken striptease in front of him. Jack is so out of it that he doesn't mind when she tosses her shirt onto him. He comments that she's not at all what he thought she was. As they're about to get it on, Samantha suddenly stops. Then, without any explanation, she runs to the bathroom and locks herself in. She tells him to go back to his car and sleep there. This abrupt change in behavior wakes Jack up from his drunken stupor. He goes back to his car, feeling annoyed and left out. The next day, the awkwardness between them is palpable. Jack is more concerned about the reason for Samantha's sudden change in behavior. He parks his truck in a parking lot and confronts her. Apparently, she finally remembered their terrible blind date in the past. Jack asks her about it. He waited for 3 hours, thinking she might be having some stomach problems. That's the lamest excuse one can hear, but it explains why her bathroom habits fascinate him. Perhaps at that time, he was really attracted to her, and got frustrated when she left. He just didn't know it yet. Samantha reveals that on that night, she got a text from her sister while she was in the bathroom. Their parents passed away in a car accident. Without saying goodbye, she left him and packed her bags to go home. She was grieving, and it didn't help that she kept receiving mean texts from him. What he said last night, about her not being what he thought she was one of the texts she received, and it reminded her of the incident. Jack is extremely shocked to know the real reason. He asks for her forgiveness, although he doubts it would make any difference. Samantha admits she was overwhelmed last night, and misses her parents very much. But after this conversation, the atmosphere between them has become considerably lighter, especially since Samantha makes the first move to approach him. They stop at a fast food restaurant and order breakfast. While having their coffee, she confesses something to Jack. She tells him that in the summer of last year, Murray visited her and told her his doubts about marrying Lisa. He also told her that it was Samantha that he wanted to marry. At first, Jack dismisses all this as something normal. He vouches that Murray has changed. But when Samantha adds that Murray also kissed her, that's when he feels disturbed. When she asks him if she should tell Lisa, he advises her not to do it, especially not the day before the wedding. It's already history, and if the truth comes out, Murray should handle it himself. They continue their trip. Jack says he needs to stop at his parents' house to get his tuxedo. But he has a problem. They are expecting that he'll bring Jessie. Samantha suggests she can pose as his ex-girlfriend, so that his parents won't get suspicious. He's not sure about this plan, especially since his mother easily knows when he's lying. But he goes along with it. Jack's parents, Barry and Sally, are jovial and warm people. They immediately welcome their son and his girlfriend. Aside from Sally's remark about how she likes Samantha's blonde hair, everything is as smooth as possible. At the onset, Samantha hits it off with Jack's parents, despite their unrestrained candidness about Jack's precocious teenage years, or their active life. Jack is so embarrassed he chooses to go upstairs to get his tux. Samantha stays with his parents and carries on pretending to be Jessie. A little later, when she goes up to check on Jack, she sees him frustrated with his clothes. The tux has become too small for him, so they decide to buy one at the local boutique. They take this time to relax and really get to know each other. While waiting for the tux's adjustment, they walk around and talk about many things. Before they know it, Jack and Samantha have become comfortable with each other's presence. Who knew they'd get along well, especially with their awkward start and disastrous past? When they return home, they don't expect an addition to their trip. Sitting in the kitchen with Sally is an attractive brunette, whose temper can be seen on her face. Sally says her name is also Jessie. The tension rises between Samantha, Jack, and his ex. Sally and Barry are simply chill about it, and are even happy to get to witness such an exciting three-way love drama. Jack talks to Jessie out of the kitchen, while Samantha takes a call from Murray. Samantha goes up to Jack's room to take the call. To her indignation, Murray asks her to elope with him, right before the wedding day. She doesn't want to, and reminds him that she's friends with Lisa. But he insists. Unfortunately, Lisa overhears the call. After a few seconds, the call ends. Samantha is confused. She's thinking that she should have told her friend about Murray's cheating, even if it would cost their friendship. Then she gets distracted by the voices downstairs. She hears Jack and Jessie arguing. Jessie thinks that Samantha is just an excuse for Jack to hurt her. But he denies this, saying he hates Samantha because she's annoying. Despite this, he'll not go back to Jessie because of her infidelity. He'll book her a flight back home. The woman has the guts to get mad at him, even after all she's done. She goes back inside the house and accepts Sally's coffee offer. Jack goes upstairs to find Samantha. He informs her of what he's about to do when they receive calls from Murray and Lisa. It turns out the wedding has been called off. Samantha feels guilty because she thinks it's her fault. Jack asks her how, and she tells him about the call from Murray earlier. Jack scoffs at her, upon knowing that his friend still wants to be with Samantha. She takes offense at this. He realizes she must have heard what he said about her earlier. He explains that he only said those words so Jessie won't target her. Their conversation ends when Sally offers the mistress some coffee. Samantha and Jessie both sit at the kitchen table, with Sally looking like their referee, sitting in the middle. The tension between them is so strong that they both end up grabbing the other's hair. Jack stops their catfight. He orders Samantha to go to his room, while he orders Jessie to get her things. He'll bring her to the airport. Before they leave, Jack and Jessie reconcile. Jack is attracted to her, but she could never domesticate him. Jessie thinks he's an ideal marriage guy, until she realized she wasn't ready for marriage. It's a good thing that they end on a good note, despite how it happened. When he returns, Jack sees Samantha having some wine with his mom and looking at his published book on wildlife photos. Barry calls his son for a father and son conversation in the garden. Barry tells Jack that even though they witnessed a catfight earlier, he is proud of his son. He recalls the time when two women fought over him, but they ended up with each other, and then he ended up with Sally. Then they have a toast for beautiful women in their lives. Later on, Jack and Samantha have a conversation in his room. Jack chides her for acting like they're on vacation. The past few days have been overwhelming to him. First, he breaks up with his girlfriend, then his friend's wedding gets canceled, and now he has a girl in his room that his mother really likes. In her defense, Samantha is likable, but she feels guilty about everything that has happened. Plus, she may have gone overboard with his mother by telling her their supposed plans for their wedding, the number of kids they'll have, and other stuff. Jack can only heave a deep sigh. They're both stressed about their situation, but there's no need to ruminate and beat themselves up for what happened. It's Murray's fault for the canceled wedding, and they both didn't know that Jessie would come. As for his mother, well, he'll just explain things later. He tells her that he'll bring her home, since no wedding will happen. They'll start their journey tomorrow. But for now, she can take a nap. A few hours later, Samantha wakes up. She finds Jack alone at the dinner table. She feels that same giddy feeling when she finds out Jack waited for her to wake up so they could eat their dinner together. During their meal, he learns that Samantha is working in the marketing department of a fashion company. Everyone says she's good at her job, but she hates it. She's 26, but she wants to achieve something more in her life. Then she gets one of her travel bags and shows him what she's been working on. She shows him a baseball cap, then clips a logo at the back of it. Jack thinks it would be an interesting piece of merchandise for sports fans. She got the inspiration when she was young. Her father used to bring her to basketball games, and she thought it would be boring to look at thousands of ordinary caps. She has had meetings with the NBA and NFL to patent her work, but nothing is for sure. She also shows him her other art clips. When he asks her what's holding her back, she says she doubts whether she could succeed. But Jack encourages her to give it a shot, because her products have good potential. Samantha feels elated to hear this. It means a lot when you know someone believes in your vision, even when you yourself don't. The next day, they start their journey back to Jersey. But Samantha has a request. She wants to visit her sister, Missy, at Maggie Valley. It's about halfway to their destination, so it won't be a problem. Jack agrees, and says he'll simply find some place where he can camp for the night. But she tells him there's no need to go camping. Her sister has spare rooms for them. He can come in and say hello, and stay if he decides to. They arrive at one of the cozy cabins located on a hill. When they enter the house, both Samantha and Missy squeal with delight. Missy is a bubbly girl with red-dyed hair and a friendlier aura than her sister. But she also has the same chaotic confidence as Samantha. For their first meeting, she asks Jack to touch her chest and tell her how it feels. Her boyfriend will return the next day, so she wants everything perfect for him. Jack is awkward at this. Before he can stop her, she pulls out the breast implants from her bra and puts them on his hand. He's a doctor, but this is not his area of expertise. Then Missy shows them what she has cooked for them. As they are about to eat, they hear a honk from outside. Missy runs to them and gets their plates. She says her boyfriend, whose name is Conan, has arrived, and they need to hide. She pushes them inside the bathroom. She tells them to wait for her signal before they can get out. What kind of man is her boyfriend if Missy has to hide her sister and her friend from him? But soon, we see that Conan is a huge guy with jealousy issues. He confronts his girlfriend about the Jeep parked outside. He almost searches the house, if not for Missy seducing him with the breast implants she puts on her chest. They're about to initiate sexy time when Conan decides to relieve himself. He enters the bathroom, pulls down his pants, and sits on the toilet. He's not just simply relieving himself, it turns out. Samantha and Jack, who are hiding behind the shower curtains, can't take it anymore. The smell and the sounds are too overpowering. They run out of the bathroom, with Jack throwing up on Conan's face. Then they drive away in a hurry. Jack suggests some places where they could camp for the night. Samantha doesn't like it. And yet, that night she finds herself roasting a hot dog on a stick in front of a tent. She recalls her parents and how they used to look at each other with adoration. She misses them. Jack wishes he could have met her under different circumstances, both in the past and in the present. But it would take out all the fun, Samantha says. And it's true. As they look at each other, they both realize that, perhaps, the way they met before, the way they meet now, and this extraordinary journey were meant to happen all along. Their moment is broken when Jack sees that Samantha's food is on fire. Well, that ruined the atmosphere. They both decide to go to sleep, with a safe space between them. The next day, as Jack expects, Samantha is asking for a place where she can relieve herself. He points her to a nearby bush. As she sits, she gets pricked by a round cactus. She shrieks and pulls the cactus out of her butt. Then she throws it, and it lands right on Conan's face. It turns out he followed them there to confront them, because of his jealousy issue. It is just unfortunate that a prickly cactus landed on his face. Jack attends to Samantha's prickly bum, while she chides Conan for not trusting her sister. Conan realizes his mistake. He can see that Samantha and Jack have something going on between them, and that they trust each other. After this eventful start of the day, the two continue their journey home. When they finally arrive at her house, Samantha asks for Jack's number. She wants to maintain the friendship that has formed between them. Instead of giving her his number, Jack sends her money through PayPal. That will be for the coffee that they will drink together if they meet again. To her surprise, Jack sends her $50,000. More than the coffee, this money will afford her to resign from her work and focus full-time on her snaps business. She still feels unsure. But if someone is willing to invest in her business, willing to believe her, then why not push for it? She can pay it back when she earns, but she'll still owe him a coffee. 1 year after this life-changing trip, Samantha decides to return to Jack's house for a visit. She has successfully put up her business and is currently expanding uptown. Plus, she's learned to drive. Unfortunately, an unfamiliar woman opens the door for her. This is Caroline, Jack's current girlfriend. She calls him to let him know Samantha is here. Samantha introduces herself as Jack's friend, but Caroline can't help but feel protective of Jack. There's something about these two that seems more than just feelings of friendship. Eventually, Jack tells Caroline to go back inside so he can talk to Samantha. He tells her that he's given up being a photographer. He's about to start his clinic in town to replace the local pediatrician. He also tells her that he's always supported her product since the start. They look at each other, perhaps reminiscing about the time they spent together, and they realize it's time for them to become more than business partners. After all, they haven't had that coffee they talked about before. Months later, Jack celebrates Christmas Eve with his family. Missy is also there, arguing with his dad about some television shows. Then he gets a tray of food from Samantha, who is pregnant with his child. Indeed, no journey in life is without a purpose. For Samantha and Jack, they found each other on one of the most unexpected trips of their lives.